Welcome, beautiful friends, to the Way of Mastery, Lesson 4, Following the Thread of Desire. I saw a lot of smiles out on the sidewalk, so I suspect some of you had had fun allowing desire to arise up within your being. This is a little kind of contrary to what we usually do, isn't it? It's all about suppressing. Ooh, I'm not supposed to think that. I'm sure not supposed to do that. In this pathway, Yeshua's brilliant. I mean, it's just really something. He's showing us where we're conflicted. So even the most loving things that we might be guided to do are suppressed because we're simply fear of desire. We threw the baby out, so to speak, with the bathwater. So there's several new people here tonight, just real briefly. You don't have to believe a word I say, please. You have your own inner guides. You follow your own truth. If something here resonates with you, please use it. If not, throw it out. Don't think that what I say is the only authority of truth. We've gotten into all kinds of trouble throughout history following one person. You each have love on board, and you'll know whether it resonates with you or not. I'm going to share the lesson. For those of you who are new, what we do is we listen to the channeling of this lesson, because in this pathway, Yeshua actually spoke them through a channel and they were recorded. So it's really powerful stuff to hear that. And then for the next 3 or 4 weeks, I will deepen that lesson based on my own experience of walking this pathway with Yeshua's help. So I'm going to try and peel back layers and give you more than what you might have got when you heard it or read it yourself. So with that, this pathway is built on axioms that Yeshua gives us in this pathway. And it's kind of a starting point for a logical conclusion. I wouldn't call it an argument, but understanding. And of course, these run absolutely contrary to everything that we've learned in the world.
Do you want me to read all three?
Yes, please.
Okay. I am created as my Father created me to be. I am free, and nothing sources my experience but me and each moment. Nothing has an effect on me whatsoever, save that which I choose to allow to affect me. I need do nothing. I do not live any ordinary moments. With each breath, my experiences are the stepping stones laid before me of God to guide me home. Therefore, I will bring awareness to each moment and allow it to teach me how to forgive, how to embrace, how to love, and therefore, how to live fully.
Most of us have spent most of our life, number one, really thinking we're a victim, that we're not free, that we're not sourcing our experience. It's because of what that asshole who cut me off did. So this is about completely turning all of that around and no longer saying the world or any other being is responsible for anything I experience, from a headache to a heartache to whatever, that you are sourcing that experience yourself. And this is a very big bite for us to take if we're egoically identified. It's really hard to take that level of responsibility. But the power in taking that responsibility is then you have the power to undo that sense of being separate, that sense of being not identified with God, that sense of being a victim. I need do nothing. I don't know about you, but I think a lot of us went around doing lots of things today because we felt like we needed to, or something bad would happen. So this one is beautiful because it does two things. It identifies what we are. In our divinity, we don't have to do anything. There's no authority greater than us. But it also brings up all the stuff that we believe in our little body-mind lives that we have to do so that we can contrast those. And number 3, I don't live any ordinary moments. Most of us live the same ordinary moments over and over and over ad nauseum. And we tell ourselves, that's my routine, that's my comfort zone. It's really a prison and we don't know it. Because he's trying to get us to follow a new pathway to live life fully. Who here would say they have lived life all out fearlessly?
Me!
Jay, you are the man. If you could
say all the time, but I have done it.
Great. Well, this lesson is going to hopefully give you the all the time. But Jay will stick around afterwards for the question and answer session because he may have some direct experience to share with us. At the very first of this deepening, he's going to introduce the 4th axiom. So these are things that you need to look in your being and see where your beliefs are absolutely opposite to these. And if you've grown up in this world, your belief system is nothing like this. And of course, he's trying to correct that within our consciousness. So here we go. We'll do the Lord's Prayer just for you, Joy. Joy couldn't really get started tonight without the Lord's Prayer.
I'm surprised you started talking about the axioms without the Aramaic.
Yep, we'll do that first. Because once I do this, you guys, like many of you, will zone out.
Yeah.
Which is okay. So for those of you, again, who are new, Jeshua gave the Lord's Prayer in his native tongue, Aramaic. And we're going to hear him speak it, channeled through the channel, JM. And we'll hear it two ways. We'll hear it straight through, and then we'll hear it with some music. If you'll just relax. You're not going to understand what the words say, and that's really good that you don't. Because your mind's not going to put up a barrier to it. Just let it vibrationally wash through your being. It's like dropping a pebble in. You don't have to help the ripples. They'll do their own work.
WOM, the Boshmaya, Ni te Kadash Shema, Te Malkuda, Neve Sivinach, Akina the Boshmaya O Baraha, Haulan Lachman, Zunkanan Yamana, Boshwoklan Halpin, Akina Dapanan, Shwakin Il Hayabain. Ula talan el mission, el passam membish. But had lachim el kuda, uhaila, utish bhakta. La alam. Amen. Amen. Need Kadash Shema Te Malkuda Nehwe Sidina Akanad Vashmaya Uparaha Halan Lachman Sunkhan Yamana Vashwoklan Habin Aikana Dapanan Shwakin Hayabin Ula Talan Mission El Pasan But all the lucky Melkuda Hayla Utishbota La Allah Amen.
That's good stuff. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. For those of you who was his native tongue. Of course, by the time we read it when we were kids, it had been mistranslated a couple of 2 or 3 times. If you want Yeshua's translation of it, I've got it over there. If you're watching online, you can send me an email at love@onewhowakes, and I'll send you the proper Yeshua's English translation of it. You'll see it, and it'll make a big difference right away. So here we go. You ready, Cindy?
Mm-hmm. Listen well now to the next axiom we would give you. The only relationship which holds any value at all is your relationship with God, your creative source, the depth of the ocean. And right away the mind wells up. But what about my mate? What about my parents? What about my children? What about the President of the United States? What about the postmaster? You will come up with a million examples of relationships that surely have great importance. The only one which holds value is your relationship with God. For when that is in alignment, all your creations, your choices for relationships, and how you will be within them will flow effortlessly from that alignment. Therefore seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added unto you. Do not try to create a rose by starting with the petals, but nourish the roots, and the flower must blossom. If you are in right relationship with your Creator, it is absolutely necessary to correct your perception and relationship with the energy of desire. And it begins by releasing your judgment of it all of its forms. For again, you can only be in love or fear. You can only be in innocence or judgment. Love and innocence are of the kingdom. Fear and judgment are of illusion.
So in this one couple of paragraphs, he's put two of his Bible things in there. One, have no idols before God, no relationship greater, and seek first the kingdom, and all things will be added unto you. So the only relationship that holds any value, the only one that holds any value at all, some are marginally valuable. He's saying the only one that matters is our relationship this way. And we have thousands of substitutes that we make horizontally for it. Spouses, children, milkshakes for you, whatever it is, we make the health of our body. We would probably say, that's more important to me, my happiness, my joy, my free, other than God. Now, how many of us going this way under our own guise, under our own judgment, and our own power, have gotten everything that the kingdom is supposed to promise us? Anyone? I don't know, that there's hundreds of conference rooms all over the world full of self-improvement people who are certain they can make this way work. You know, whether it's affirmations or positive thinking or whatever. No idol, no amount of sex, no amount of money, no amount of anything is going to come anywhere close to what you're going to get when you authentically connect this way. And you draw the fullness of your being from your Creator. So just look within your life. We've all got a long list of idols that we have put before that relationship. Long, long list. Will you hold the question to the end? Thanks. If any, there's little pieces of paper over there. Thank you, Mark. And of course, you guys probably had things well up in your mind, didn't you? If you didn't, you're probably lying. Now, come on, it's safe in this room to go, yeah, I had my objections. I'm not sure mine would have been the President of the United States or the Postmaster, but I appreciate Jeshua's sense of humor. So again, the only one that matters is God. And when that's in alignment, when this love is true, everything that happens this way will be a reflection of that. Freedom, love, joy, peace, non-judgment, all those things that you really want in your life, but you've never found them this way. You'll get them in abundance this way. And he said, your cup will runneth over. And then you'll extend that to everyone else. And it's a great gift to be extended. Because people come and they know it's safe. They know they won't be judged. They can be open. They don't have to put on a show, all that kind of stuff. So seek first the kingdom. And many people who are Course in Miracles students or even Way of Mastery students, we have this misperception and we think we're seeking the kingdom, but what we're really seeking is the illusion. If you've been on any path that talks about illusion versus spirit or ego or whatever, you get super vigilant for ego. Oh, that was an ego comment. Rather than you get super vigilant for innocence, for limitlessness, for peace, for your relationship with your Creator. So you can have everything that your heart would ever desire, probably, but you're going to find it in this relationship, not in the shabby substitutes that we've made. And we make over and over. I mean, we have 4 failed relationships. We're sure the 5th one is going to get it right. Or, 4 careers, the next one will be deeply and wholly and completely fulfilling. And you get the job, and then all of a sudden the boss is an asshole, and blah, 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 blah. You're on Career Builder looking for something else. Whew. But in order to get that, we must correct our energy around the desire. Because it's desire that got us into this separated state. It's desire that got us into this separated dream. And it's desire that's going to take us back to our Creator. But we've become so frightened by what we did with desire, by desiring the whole thing of separateness and pain and body and limitless littleness and all that stuff, and having our heart broken over and over in this way, some point in your life you probably just want to turn the tap of desire off, because it's like, better to have no desire than to keep having desire and getting your chops busted or getting your heart broken. But that's because we didn't realize the desire was trying to tell us, come this way, but we, because we're bodies, we kept interpreting it this way. He's going to talk in this lesson about sex and money, and we'll get into this later, but those 2 energies are divine energies which we made symbols out of within the world to limit what we are. So love and innocence are of the kingdom, fear and judgment is illusion. So discernment's really easy. If you're in fear or judgment, you know you're playing the game of separation. Period. Period. If you see only innocence and love, then you're coming from that Christed consciousness, so to speak. And each of you have moved in and out of that state. Everybody has touched it. Don't think that heaven is like some mythical something. Everybody's done it from time to time. You've all had great compassion. You've all been genuinely loving. But we just don't stay there very long. We have this kind of crack addiction to fear and to guilt, and we just move right back out of it.
Learn then, through simple practice, to interpret the patterns you've learned from this illusory world, so that you release judgment of the energy of desire. This will be different for each and every one, depending upon where they begin. But to give you a very simple exercise, when you awaken in the morning and you've planted your feet firmly on the floor, take pause and ask yourself this question: what do I want right now? Right away, the mind will say, well, I'm too busy to know what I want. I have to go off to work. I have to serve somebody else. I'm here to satisfy the world. I have no time to ask myself what I want. Remember that what you decree is, and the thought you hold in the mind will be reflected through the nature of your experience.
He makes this point over and over, that what we decree is. We tried to give up our divinity. We tried to give up our power. We tried to give up our limitless ability to create, but we couldn't actually give it up. We just disguised it so that we weren't conscious that we were doing it. So when you say, gosh, I'm just sick and tired all the time. Well, shit, you're making yourself sick and tired by professing that you're sick and tired all the time. If I don't ever have enough time, or I'm never in a great relationship, you're actually decreeing to the universe, because of the nature of who you are as Christ, you're decreeing that, so the universe shows up like that so that you won't think you're crazy. Because you know on the depth of your being that you are that powerful creator. So be careful what you decree. Be careful what it is. And many of you are walking around in the context of what you have decreed your whole life, or what someone else decreed about you and you adopted as your own. They put you in a box and you said, yes, I am unworthy, or I'm not good enough. So the universe keeps reflecting that back to you, because that's a truth of what you're holding in your consciousness. We don't like this. We like to profess different, but what you really hold in your consciousness is exactly what's showing up in your life. There is a direct correlation between those two. So what do you want right now? Have you ever, Robin talked about this last week, it was like the question, and there was just this emptiness. It was like nothing really came, because we're so unfamiliar with truly asking ourselves what we want, because we're used to living life running away from the lowest common denominator, trying to get a little bit of happiness or a little bit of fix or whatever, that we don't truly move depth into the depth of our being and know what we truly want. Because when we were kids and we were actually doing what was most spontaneous and what we truly wanted, we got in trouble. because we didn't color in the lines or we made a mess in the kitchen or whatever it was. So within the context of the dream world, we started suppressing desire even at that young age, because we learned following desire equals trouble, but following everyone else's rules equals safety. Kind of sucks, doesn't it? But very simple exercise. And look at the things that you do in your life and really deeply explore. Am I doing this because I want to do it? Or am I going home for the holidays because I feel obligated? Am I going somewhere with this friend because I'm just too damn chicken to say I don't want to hang out with you anymore? Look at how many things, truly look honestly. Your mind will try and paint what I call put pink paint on it and make it look all nice and rosy. But how many times are you not actually saying what you feel because you don't want to offend anyone? Just look. I'm not saying it's good, bad, right, or wrong, but you might be in a prison that you're not even aware of. And you've come to rationalize your life experience and say, well, this is just it. Doesn't necessarily have to be that way.
In this 1 minute, you need not rise to act, but to simply observe, what do I want? To take a hot shower. The feeling of the thought, or the thought that emits the feeling to the body, I want to take a hot shower, is carried on the elixir of desire. And desire is coming from a depth of your beingness that again rests right next to the face of God. And might it not be the case that by following the desire that wells up through your heart, by feeling it, by embracing it, you might learn and discover what the ocean is wishing to express through the wave that you are? And if you judge desire, might you not be shutting off the creative flow that the mind of God wishes to express? Of course that's the problem. You've tied the hose in a knot through conflicted judgments. And the idea now is to begin in a simple way, to begin to give yourself permission to feel desire, to allow it even into the cells of the body, to observe it, to notice it, to sit with it.
So the key about this exercise is not necessarily running off with the first thing that comes up. What is it I truly desire? Ice cream, boom, and you're off to ice cream. It's actually sitting with that and allowing it to come up. You don't have to act on every one that comes, but give it enough time to truly allow the lid to come off and allow that to come up within your being. Within my own mind, when I was working with this, I was deeply conflicted about it. So I had this image of a spigot, that water comes out of it. It had this golden elixir that he's talking about, and I had it completely shut off. And I would go over and try and turn it so just one drop would come out, and then I was scared of it and I'd shut it off. So he walks over with a sledgehammer and knocks the handle off, and so it just kind of came, and I couldn't stop it. It was just the symbol of me truly opening it up and letting it come, letting it come. And he's going to give us an exercise later in the lesson to do this, to actually begin to allow it to come and write them down. But you have to truly let them come. They're in there. And for those of you who weren't here last time, this symbol of the ocean and the wave, he's talking about God is the whole ocean, but we think we're this tiny little wave. We're not actually separate, but it's about opening to let the desire from the depth of the ocean move up through our consciousness and be informed rather than making our own decisions from our tiny little separated consciousness. He'll talk about this in the next slide, about this knot that we've tied. And remember, we tied it on purpose. Because if we didn't limit desire when we incarnated in this dream realm of separation, we would have immediately said, this is bunk. I don't want to do this limited thing, because the desire of our truth would have continued to overwhelm us. So it's okay that we tied it in a knot. That was part of the thing, but we don't have to leave it that way. We can untie that knot and let it go. And it's really important, he talks about it, to begin to give yourself permission to feel the desire, to even allow it into the cells of your body, to really feel it, to observe it, to notice it and sit with it. He doesn't say to judge it. He doesn't say to categorize it as ego or spirit. He doesn't say to resist it. He says allow it and be with it. This is one of the things we're most scared to do with desire. A sexual thought will come up, and we're certainly not going to entertain that thought because that's a bad thing, and we immediately want to move away from it. But he's talking about allowing your being to be totally healed so that anything can arise in your being. The desire arising doesn't mean that you have to do it. And it doesn't mean you're bad because a particular desire arises. Because desire is the whole energy around creation itself. So, what joyful, peaceful, loving expression through you have you maybe suppressed because you were scared of desire? Or you were scared to be big. You were scared to be noticed. Because you get on a spiritual path where you're certainly not supposed to stand out. That's ego. Jesus stood out. There was no ego in that.
Here is a very common one in your world. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you felt the desire to be wealthy? It's not something you're supposed to sit around and talk about or make very public. Boy, this morning I woke up and I just imagined having so many golden coins that I could buy the entire planet. Oh, money is the root of all evil. I can't think that way. Well, I better get busy and get off to my office job that secretly inside I really resent because they don't pay me what my soul is worth. But I'll pretend like I'm quite fine. Oh, money? No, I'm quite fine. I really have enough. No, really, I'm quite fine. And then as you drive home, the Mercedes-Benz pulls up alongside you. You cannot help but turn and go, God, I wish I could afford one of those. Oh, God, I can have that thought. So I'll drive my old Volkswagen down the road, and I'm being a very good spiritual person.
Boy, what we do to ourselves and convince ourselves that it's a good thing for us to be in lack. Money represents infinite possibilities. Because if you have money, you're free to choose any experience you'd like to have, right? Isn't that why we all want money? Because we feel like it'd give us freedom. It'd give us the freedom to choose to help others, whatever it is. So money represents the very ground of your infinite being. The truth about you as Christ, the truth about you as you were created in the Creator's image, is that you have unlimited creative capacity within your being that is unrestricted. Unrestricted. Now, within the context of the separated dream world, we had to take that power and put it outside of ourselves and have ourselves believe that, oh, I can't be free unless I have money. So the desire for money is arriving from the very depth of the ocean, and it's not about the money. We misperceive it and think it's about the money. It's about your soul saying, shit, I am unlimited. I don't want to live limited. And if it means that I need money in this world to be closer to what I really am, well, then bring it. But of course, he'll get to it in the next slide. All this stuff about money is the root of all evil and money's dirty, and that's all bunk. That was all just added to this concept of money to try and push it away from it. Because we have this push-pull relationship with it. When I sold my business, I got a really big fat check, and it didn't take long until I felt unworthy of all that money. And I started throwing it, I started losing it like crazy. Stupid decision here, stupid decision there, because I just felt unworthy of having it. And just think about it. How many people want to win the lottery, but I bet if you did, a sense of guilt would come. Because in this duality, we kind of get both sides of the coin. So, there's nothing wrong with money. It's all the energy and perception that we've put on it. And look closely within your own consciousness. Haven't you resented people that have lots of money? I sure did. Come on, don't be shy out there. We all resent, not all, but lots of people resent people that have lots of money. And then we feel sorry for people and sometimes judge people that don't have money, like, get a job, you should be working. You could go make money. We have all kinds of judgments around it. So no wonder we have this love-hate relationship with it. So he's asking us to just recognize what that energy of desire of money is. It is the desire of your being to be unlimited and to be infinitely creative and to have open choice. So with that symbol on it, you kind of recognize, wow, I should let this desire really arise in my being. Because you can do lots of great things with money.
Be honest with yourselves. How many times have you felt welling up within yourself the desire to be wealthy? What on earth has caused you to fear that desire? What has caused you to tie the hose in a knot so that you try to block that desire from coming into manifestation? Perhaps when you were a child you went to one of your cathedrals and there was someone in a long robe standing upon a platform, and because everything looked so beautiful, surely they must be speaking with authority. And because this cathedral is filled with a whole lot of small little minds that are all living in their own level of fear, when that voice spoke and said, "Money is the root of all evil," you said, "Oh, well, that's the truth. Oh yeah, that's the truth. Oh yes, oh God, I better fear money."
If you have a connection with your inner guide, I would certainly encourage you to explore this question about feeling wealthy and about what are all the blocks within your being. There are more there than you'll ever imagine. Because your mind will hear this and go, "Oh yeah, okay, I'm ready, I'm open, I really want money." But still buried in your subconscious is tons of this kind of stuff. Tons of this kind of resistance. And you can't bring it up and heal it and get it out of your being so that you're no longer bound by it until you see it. So be willing to really explore it. Because again, the symbol is money, but what it's really pointing at is your infinite creative capacity, your infinite power of being. So use money as the symbol to explore and recapture the power of your being. That's what you truly want. So much so that, he says in another channeling, you just hold out your hand and make as many golden coins as you want. So, they're in there. And most of them had this unspiritual context to them. I mean, if you look around, I was talking to my friend Sam, one of the local communities, spiritual communities he's in, like 90% of the people are struggling financially. Because there's so much this idea that spirituality and wealth in the world don't match. Well, I got to tell you, spirituality is infinitely abundant. They go together. It's unnatural that we've separated them. It's unnatural that we've made conditions to limit that. That's what's unnatural. So bring that back and heal that within your own being so that the universe no longer has to reflect lack and scarcity to you because you've healed that within your being. So money might be the symbol, but you're recovering the truth of your being while you're doing it. So don't just make it about the money. You can if you want, but it's way deeper than that.
I say unto you, you have one authority, and it is never held within the office of any church or any organization or any one individual. Your authority is the voice for God that dwells within your heart and within your mind. God is not limited and does not require his children to be limited. For if you would receive all that God would give you, you would decide to rise up and be the grandest wave that you could possibly be. For only in so doing do you honor your Creator.
Wait there. That's really powerful. I mean, ask yourself, how would the child of God live? In poverty, thinking that that's going to get you something after death when you say to God, well, look how meek I was. I was supposed to inherit the world. Well, meekness doesn't deny what you are. Meekness doesn't deny that you're the child of God and you're unlimited, created like your Creator. Just look within your consciousness how that runs completely contrary to everything you've ever considered, believed, or experienced. So if you want to honor God, be as God. Unconditionally loving, unconditionally powerful, absolutely free of desire. I mean, free within the context of allowing desire. I think I'll go create a universe today. Well, I'm glad God had that desire. I'm glad he had the desire to create each and every one of us, because none of that was random. None of that was a mistake. But how many of us don't believe our inner guide? Because we've learned to distrust ourselves so deeply. In our separated environment, in our fear-based, we've cut off the hose of love, of desire, of everything else. We don't trust ourselves. So even when that voice starts to speak to you, there's this real doubt about following it. Discerning the voice of ego, your own kind of voice, and the voice of love that's trying to arise within you to walk you out of the dream is really, really important. Because if you listen to your mind, it will keep you seeking relationships and idols this way. That inner voice is trying to get you to acknowledge and accept what you are this way, which is infinite, which is powerful, which is the child of the Creator. And that you're unlimited. But when Jeshua started telling me some of that stuff, I was just like, Jeshua, you're crazy. That might have been true for you. But then we got into this whole thing that religion messed that up too, that he wasn't the only Son of God. We all are perfectly equal to him. He wasn't the one, and the rest of us are like stepchildren or something. Whew. That one paragraph is a powerful contemplation and a powerful meditation. It will bring up all kinds of nasty stuff out of your cellar about your beliefs of what you are.
So you could say that God is like a wise gardener who is constantly trying to grow beautiful roses. He knows exactly how much moisture to put in the soil. He knows how to make those nutrients rise from the soil through the roots, up through the heart of the stem of the flower, to give forth a radiant color, so that everyone that looks upon it is touched by the mystery of beauty. And God wonders, well, that's interesting. These roses that I've created seem to have a mind of their own. As the elixir I try to give them rises through the stems, they tie themselves in little knots, and only a little bit of the elixir reaches out. And so the petals never quite blossom fully. Have you ever had the feeling that you're putting more energy into staying constricted than you are into allowing expansion?
And how have you feel that your life hasn't fully bloomed? That you don't know your purpose, or you haven't fully expressed it, or you're scared about being big and claiming who you are and honoring who you are and being grateful to the Creator and stepping fully into that? But I tell you, we work really hard at being constricted. If you look within your consciousness, when you find one of these and you open and you let it go, your mind will immediately want to replace it with another concept. It will want to get a new belief and constrict around that. How much energy goes into your mind telling yourself you're not worthy, or you're not good enough, or I'm never going to get this, or this is too hard, or it's not fair that someone else gets it and I don't. How much do you spend your time in that place? Rather than trying to affirm the truth that he's trying to get us to accept. And you wonder why you're constricted. You wonder why you experience fear and all that kind of stuff, because we're holding on to it like this. And the ego knows if you authentically let it all go, that it's going to cease to exist. But what will arise in its place is this, the Christ. So you give up nothing but the constricted little feared, scared, separate self. Is that really losing something? Your mind will come up with a million ways to tell you, oh gosh, I'm going to lose awakening. I'm going to be like a bump on a log. I won't think. I won't be able to. Bullshit. I'm wide awake and happily alive. So God's trying to create that through you, and we restrict it. Because we think we're supposed to meet some worldly idea of what will please God. Oh, if I do good works, or if I repent, or if I, beat myself, flog myself, so that when I get to God, oh God, I've already treated myself so bad, so you don't have to. They don't make any sense, but they're still buried in our illogical consciousness. They're still buried in the things that we learn from this world. Whew. So untie the knot. I tell you, once you wake up, you won't care what anybody else thinks about your flower. You'll just be so radiant being your flower. And the people who want to look at your flower and go, wow, look at how beautiful that flower is, you'll go, thank you very much. And those that go, that's an asshole flower, you'll go, thank you very much. Because you won't be in that whole thing of trying to be codependent with anybody. I mean, gone is this, well, is my flower's pretty? Is your flower pretty? If we agree to have a pretty flower compact, you know. So anyway, let that stuff go.
Desire is creation. Therefore, what you desire is of supreme importance. If you will take the little exercise that we have given you and begin to put it into practice in a very simple way and in a quiet way, you'll begin to get back in touch with the innocence and beauty of the movement of desire. You can delight in it. When you have a sexual thought, a sexual desire, why not just be with it? Why not notice what it causes to happen in the body? How does your breath change? Does the heart beat faster? Be honest with yourself. Isn't it putting a smile on your face? What if you decided to honestly embrace that effect as being perfectly innocent and beautiful? What might your day change if you did not repress awareness of sexual desire? You'll notice we're not saying you should walk down the street and grab every body that walks by you. We're talking about allowing yourself the living embrace of exactly what energy is moving through your being. Why is this important? If you have decided that there are certain energies that are demonic, evil, have the power to distract you from your union with God, you have already decided there is something beyond the reach of your power, and that is what disempowers you. And so you take an innocent energy and turn it into a monster that must be feared at all costs.
Cindy, I had a sexual desire for you while you were reading that, just to be open and out there.
Me too.
Thank you. Woo-hoo! We're going to wrap up quick tonight, folks. So,
This thing's over.
yeah, no hugs tonight. Just get out.
We know it.
Thanks, honey. That's fine. Desire is creation. Even if you believe you're just a body, did that body arrive because people had no desire? Somebody let the desire for sexual attraction arise. And as a result, each and every one of these bodies was created. Everything in this room. Did this chair just pop out of nowhere? Somebody had a thought, I'm going to create a chair. I'm going to create a really comfortable chair, one that I can sit sideways in just for you, Joy. But everything in the created world, including nature, was the desire of specific desire to create. And if you look at nature, those of you who are really in tune to nature, that is an expression of your infinite creative capacity. Do you not see unimaginable variety? The number of trees, the number of bushes, how many varieties of roses are there? The very nature of our desire is abundant. I mean, look at the stars in the universe. We don't just create little. We don't create just one thing and, oh, that's enough. Just one solar system. I mean, we go all out because we have no limit on the desire and the creative capacity that arises within our being. How many of you have been in that creative capacity and actually found the excitement of that flow? So in the flow that you completely disappears time. Athletes have it, they call it the zone. Musicians, I think, call it the flow. When I do this, that's what I'm experiencing. What if you could live your life in that desire, moment to moment to moment to moment? Would that be innocent and like children who just move from desire to desire to desire to desire? And they let desire rise. They don't have any concepts yet that desire is bad until we as fearful adults push our fears on them. And they adopt them just as we adopted them from everybody else. I would suggest if you look within your being, you probably have very few fears that are yours. You've got a bunch of fears that you learn from parents and teachers and pastors and everyone else. What if you really looked in your consciousness and threw out everything that wasn't your own creation? How open to desire do you think you might be then? So put this into practice. He's going to give, in almost every one of these lessons, he gives a simple practice. None of them are complicated, and none of them take a long time. If you truly want to heal the energy of desire, do the practice. Allow it to come up. I mean, it can be really fascinating when you take the lid off and all that stuff starts to arise within your being. Wow, I never knew about that. Look on it with innocence. If you have a murderous thought come up, well, welcome to humanity. It's not a bad thing unless you pick up the hammer and run over to the neighbors. And again, he's saying he's not asking you to act on these things. He's just simply asking you to allow them to come. You're always and eternally at choice. But what in your consciousness are you allowing yourself to choose from? Like 2 or 3 measly, weeny options? Are you really opening up your being and letting the bottom of the ocean say, well, how about this? How about this? How about this? And it takes time. And this practice will help you do it. But generally, if it's putting a smile on your face, what's so bad about it? It's putting a smile on your face. It very likely might put a smile on someone else's face when it's shared. And we have all identified energies that are demonic and evil. Satan, the devil. You've got a list in there a mile long. And if you'll look at them, you'll recognize that someone told you that they were bad. They're just innocent energies. He used the symbol with me that it's just like infinite flavors of ice cream. But you say all ice creams that look brown, those are bad ice creams. I mean, it's ridiculous how we do this. But he's really talking about totally opening your being and restoring your infinite creative capacity. And if you think you don't have a creative mind, just look outside. That's a reflection, and a tiny reflection, of the infinite creative capacity within the Christ mind. Tap into that. That's the depth of the ocean creating. He talks about this, be honest with yourself. This is one of the hardest things to do on the path because we've become so clever at deceiving ourselves and rationalizing and talking ourselves into our smallness that we rarely look really, really honestly. And it's important if you're really going to work with your inner guide to get honest because they know the truth. And when you know that truth or you're open to them sharing that truth with you, you can really accelerate your progress. But if you're still hiding behind a bunch of fear and you're not willing to be honest, they're not going to show you the truth because it'll frighten you and it'll probably turn you away from the guides. So get really honest. You're doing this within your own consciousness. There's no need to lie to yourself. But if you look, you're really keen on doing that. I was a self-deceiver like crazy. And then I had to defend my own self-deception to Cindy and everyone else because I had to be right about what I thought about myself. The living embrace of exactly what energy is moving through your being. He didn't say the living embrace of good energy. He didn't say the living embrace of holy energy. He didn't say the living embrace of special energy. He said the living embrace of whatever energy is moving through your being. That's unconditional self-love. That's unconditional allowance. That's unconditional openness to the depth of the ocean. Get out of the business of picking and choosing and deciding, because what really happens is you've tried to create a database to say what can come into your consciousness. Even before it comes. You're like preemptively blocking it out of fear. You don't even give it a chance to truly come and then decide. So really, really be willing to open to it and look at it all as innocent and beautiful. Because if somebody hadn't allowed the sexual desire to arrive, you wouldn't be experiencing this right now. If somebody hadn't let the desire come to create videos, nobody would be watching this on the internet. If somebody hadn't had the beautiful desire of a grocery store, we would all be running around trying to catch things. So desire is a wonderful thing. I mean, look at technology. I desire to be able to communicate with anyone, anytime, across the world. Do you know how miraculous that is on the human timeline? I mean, that's something else. So hallelujah that we've had all this desire. But the desire that we haven't truly allowed, and all these that I've talked about are this way. Making life better for the body this way, rather than reuniting your soul, your spirit with your Creator.
Yet I say unto you, the mystical transformation that carries you from feeling yourself to be a disempowered little drop of foam on the edge of a wave to the sense of freedom and empowered living that flows from the mind of God through you to express only beautiful creations filled with majesty and power and miracles. What takes you from A to B is the willingness to turn to the very energies that move through the mind and the body, and to not fear them, but to look upon them with innocence and wonder. And this is the source of the myths that have been told in all cultures. The knight that slays the dragon, kissing the wild beast on the cheek, and it becomes a loving, loving companion. Your monsters are what you fear and repress, because of the judgment you have learned in the world. And the world is only the denial of the kingdom. It is the exact opposite of truth.
So when you judge and are in resistance, you're playing right into the ego's hands. You're giving it the power to pick and choose. You're defeating your own awakening by empowering it in that way.
Say that again, please.
Let me back up and hit the rewind button. When we don't allow this stuff to arise because we've already judged it as bad, it's only the ego that judges, so you're already playing into the limited, restrictive consciousness of ego by not allowing desire to arise and staying in judgment and guilt about it, rather than this willingness and this openness. So the fears that we repress, those are all egoic judgments. The trick is, it's not fear that we fear, it's fear of fear. That's your anxiety that you run around fearful that something's going to happen. You don't wait till it happens and then be fearful. You're preemptively fearful about it. Fear is simply an energy. It can move up and through your being without limit, without restriction, and it will go. It will come and go like a cloud. But if you fear fear, or you fear desire, or you fear certain desires, you have already played into the ego's hands. You've already limited yourself by what creations are appropriate and what creations aren't. Look at the world. God clearly doesn't limit any creation. Unconditional love. Can you open your being to allow that? But if you want to get home to God, I'd suggest you let Him inform you through your inner guide how to do that, rather than relying on our own stuff, which we learned in the world. I can tell you, you've learned nothing in the world, zero, that's of any value to your awakening, except that separation sucks. That might be of help. But you haven't learned any strategies. You haven't learned anything about true relationship. You haven't learned anything about true love that will help you with your awakening. So really be willing to open to that. Because you know what? God wants to express beautiful creations filled with majesty, power, and miracles. That's a pretty good deal. He's not trying to give you a guilt trip for what you think you did 10 years ago that He's pissed off about. He's just trying to give you what your inheritance is and return your awareness to your perfect union, your absolute freedom, and your limitless power. And before you think you don't have any of that, it takes limitless power to create this crazy dream. Right now, do you know how much restrictive power you're using to create a perception of yourself as limited and frail in a body, mind, and time and space and all that? You're already doing it. You're already using your limitless power to restrict it. So when you make friends with fear, when fear no longer has power over you, your path will take off tremendously, because you'll no longer be running around fair to what's going to happen out here, because you've allowed it to already come up in here. And when you're not scared of fear within, you won't ever be fearful of it without. And when you don't have it within, the world doesn't have to keep reflecting it back to you. So you can heal it in by allowing it to come. It's just energy. It's just thoughts. It has no power over it save the power you gave it. Take that power back. The thing that fear fears, the thing that the ego fears, is you and your choice to no longer empower fear over you. You're infinitely bigger than fear. Fear is one energy. You're the creator of all energies. You're one with that source. So when you no longer fear fear, it's going to disappear from your experience. But it only exists now because you've played into the ego's hands and you let it manipulate you through the use of fear. Your choice. I'd suggest you give this a try. If you don't like it, maybe you can find a way to go back to sleep, but at least try it.
So you see, if you're sitting in one of your cathedrals and everyone is saying, "Oh yes, sexuality, very bad. It will keep you from God," right away you should realize if everyone here is fearing sexuality, it must actually be divine. And perhaps I'd do well to embrace it and love it and master it and not fear it. If someone says unto you, "Money is the root of all evil," and then sticks out his hand and says, "Would you please make a donation to our organization?" Is that not an expression of conflict? And yet such conflict permeates the religions and dogmas of your world. Don't desire money, don't desire wealth. By the way, to keep on this radio station, we really need you to send a donation. What are they trying to teach you? What are they in denial of?
One of the exercises that Jeshua had me do was the contrast between the kingdom of heaven and my experience in the world. If things take time in the world, they're instant in the kingdom. If they're hard in the world, they're effortless in the kingdom. If they're bad in the world, they're good in the kingdom. Just to try and get me to recognize I had the chance to move into that consciousness while embodied here and now, but I had to first really look at the contrast and stop thinking that the world was real and the way the world was is the only way the things are. So if someone tells you it's bad, if it's the common belief that it's bad, probably not so bad. It's almost like if all the salmon are swimming downstream, you'd be well to turn and go the other direction. And now when you do this, you might piss off a lot of your friends. You might change the nature of your relationship. Cindy and I had one of these codependent relationships. But when you turn this way, it threatened this relationship because it couldn't be premium anymore. It couldn't be the number one when this one was. So that wasn't welcomed at first. I would suspect now there's great gratitude that this is the... I shouldn't speak for you. Would you speak for yourself?
Yes.
Okay. So there you go. So, but look within your own consciousness where those contradictions are. The ego is this master of what's called disassociation. You can say one thing in one moment, and 2 minutes later you say something that's in contrast to it, and you don't even recognize that the two are in direct conflict. We equally can believe two absolutely opposing ideas, like God's all loving, but I fear being judged. Those things don't go together. But we hold the beliefs and we convince ourselves that these incompatible beliefs coexist. So just look within your consciousness. That's one of the things that when people come to sit with me, oftentimes all I have to do is listen to what they say, and they contradict themselves all the time. And all I can do is point it out. And they go, "Oh my gosh, they've seen the light." So sex and money. I appreciate that Jeshua just goes right to the point. And he's being very candid and very direct about it. He talks in some of the other channelings about his sexual relationships when he was walking the world. Because he was just like us. He was having a human experience just like us that led up to his enlightenment. It's not like he came in already anointed and was a holy baby and never lived life and never made a mistake and never felt guilty and never did anything. He lived life as we lived it. That's the whole point he's trying to make in this pathway, is to take him down off of this. He was like, anointed already. He just woke up, which any and every one of us can do to the same full extent that he did. So untie the knots in your being around sexuality and money. I talked about money being this expression of our limitlessness. Well, sex is the power of creation. In our unlimited state, we're whole. We're not male or female. So the energies exist within our being, and they're ready to create with desire. When we created the dream of separation, we had to split those energies off and make them male or female so that now we couldn't self-replicate, we couldn't create unless we had another being. So we took our power and we split it and said, okay, I can't create as Father created. I can't create an offspring unless I get a partner. And boy, haven't we done that dance. The negotiations, the desire, but then it gets really mixed up because we want the power of creation, but yet we're afraid of it. Because we appear to not have in our separated sexuality the ability to create independent. We have to have someone else create with us. And that usually is a lose-lose scenario. And sexuality gets kind of all mucked up. So creating sex or healing that sexual energy to the extent that you, within your being, you integrate male and female energies and bring them back to wholeness, can restore within your being and help to restore the creative capacity. Put that with the symbol of money, our unlimitedness, and you're getting pretty close to restoring yourself as your Father created you back with your limitless consciousness in the kingdom. So sex and money run way deeper than sex and money. You can certainly heal those and experience them on the world, but if you choose to take them even deeper, they're beautiful symbols of restoring the full nature of your being.
Sex and money. Pretty basic things, aren't they? They represent energies that flow from the mind of God that would express an unlimited joy and power and not be willing to settle for limitation of any kind. When the earth was birthed from God's holy mind and took on its own form and became an entity just like you, God did not say, well, this is a pretty beautiful planet, but I can only have a solar system just large enough for the earth. Rather, out of joy, God allowed there to come forth solar system upon solar system upon solar system, the birthing of 1,000 suns every moment, as a field in which this beautiful jewel of a planet could spin. That is true creation. And what quality of solar system have you decided to allow in which the planet of your own awareness can spin and live and express?
Sex and money said they originate from the mind of God. I would say that makes them pretty divine. No matter what anybody wants to tell you, if anyone wants to go to a cathedral, I'm sure you'll hear that old message again. But again, the nature of creation is a yes and affair. One of the tricks Jeshua gave me was had me look at everywhere in my consciousness I would say but. Yeah, but. Yeah, I'm unlimited, but. And to start replacing every but with an and. Except the first part, I'm unlimited, and what would that mean while I'm in a body? To start replacing but with and, the constriction and opening. Just look within your consciousness. You'll see all the times you're limiting with a but and can turn it around and open up to the yes and instead of buts. Unless it's sexual, you can have all the buts you want, I guess. So rather out of joy, God created and created and created and created. You want to be joyful? Restore that creative capacity within your being. Restore the power over fear. Because you can be joyful when you know nothing in the world can take away what you are. Nothing can take away your joy. Nothing can take away your peace. That's joyful. That's the sovereignty of Christ. So are you willing to create abundantly? Or are you still having this consciousness that I can't create unless? Allow desire to arise within your being and see what happens. And look at your solar system, by the way. Look at your pattern. Look at the relationships you have with others. Are there relationships like this that encourage the grandness of you? Or are they the relationships that try to keep you limited this way? Don't leave me. I love you and you have to fit in this box. Look at the nature of your relationships. Are they places which open you up, or are they places which are defined by keeping you small? If so, you might want to create a new solar system and let go of that limited one and start creating with people who are similarly, like all those in this room, looking to restore their infiniteness.
Ah, desire. Desire is everything. And again, the simple exercise we've given you will begin to free up the blocks within, and you will rediscover the innocence of desire. And then you begin to expand upon it, to take a few moments to learn to live deliberately. What do I truly want? For you see, because your mind shines forth like a sunbeam to the sun from the mind of God, when you use your consciousness to relax into the innocence of the question, what do I truly want? What is it in my heart that keeps calling to me, keeps compelling me? Pictures begin to arise, feelings begin to arise. And I say unto you, they are expressions of, and will speak through the symbols that you understand of your world, they are expressions of what God wants to bring forth through you. Ah, every time I look in my heart, and every time I allow myself to feel it, what I really want is, I want to put my arms around people. I want to let people know how much I love them.
If that's the case, one of these shirts would really help you out. I sure enjoy doing that. What is it you truly want? The very last lesson of this entire pathway, he will tell you that God lives in this question constantly. What is I truly want? Absolute, unlimited creative desire, and creates realm upon realm upon realm upon realm, playground upon playground upon playground upon playground. So are you willing to open up and let that begin to move through your being? He'll talk about it later. I'll mention it since this is our last slide for tonight. Is it possible that these things come up in their ego desires? Of course. But that's not such a problem. Or do you want to throw the baby out with the bathwater? This was his whole thing, the wheat and the chaff. Let it come. You can sort it out afterwards. The exercise he talks about is for a minute, just ask the question, what is it I truly want? And just let it come. And then pause and write everything down. And then do it again and let everything come. Do it again, let everything come. Do it again, let everything come. And he talks about doing it 7 times. And then you kind of go back and start crossing off. There may be a thread in there that you're surprised about. There may be something that finally got its way up into your consciousness that God would like to express through you. And remember from the Course in Miracles, God's will for you is perfect happiness. So whatever that expression would be, it's going to be joyful. It's not going to be like God's going to send you on some mission to suffer. That's one of the other things you've got to get rid of about allowing desire to come, is we believe God's going to send us to do things that we don't want to do. Not the case at all. Because I can assure you, the heart of Christ has been calling to you your whole life. It's been trying to break free of all these chains that we encumber ourselves in. That's what got you in this room. You wouldn't be here if that desire had not already come into your awareness enough to compel you to come to something like this. Whew. Living deliberately. At the end of this pathway, he'll talk about we're conscious creators. How much of us are living our life unconsciously by creations that we're too scared to look at, and they're running our lives. We move to the other side of the street because we see a homeless person. Who knows what it is? But if you'll start to look, you're being run by a program of egoic, fear-based consciousness that was adopted in this world, and you're not even consciously aware of it. But you can rise that stuff up into your consciousness and heal it and allow desire to move you. That desire's ultimate desire is to return you to the kingdom and give you your full inheritance. I think it's worth giving it a try. I'm glad I followed the desire that arose within me to do this. Thank you for being a part of it, for having the desire to come and be a part of it. You bet. And I'm having a great time doing it. So here we go. Lesson number 4 will continue next week. I don't think we'll finish it. So it'll probably be the week after that we actually finish it. Any questions or comments tonight? Mark had one in the back. Hold on, he'll come with the mic, Mark. Thanks for waiting.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Actually, two comments and one question. You're talking about the relationship with Creator being, vertical. I find it by going within, call it meditation or sitting, and just being present with my breath, I become present with Creator because I'm more aware of the monkey mind and how it throws the same thoughts up over and over. And by returning my attention to my breath over and over, the monkey mind has less attraction.
You bet. And actually, that's his first beatitude. Now is a ripe time to make your home in the breathing. That is the first beatitude. He talks about making that a living practice. So you're a step ahead, Mark.
Okay. The question is, you're talking about not so much being worried about the lateral, the healing our bodies. Will my body be healed when I'm in right relationship and I'm reunited with Creator?
Absolutely. Everything that we experience in our body that's pain is a resistance to that relationship. Jeshua talks a lot about healing in the Course in Miracles, that sickness is a defense against the truth of who we are. It's a way to say I'm small and I'm little and I'm frail and blah, 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 blah. So as your mind is healed and your identity shifts, the body very normally usually follows right in line and is healed. Because, Yeshua even goes so far in the Course in Miracles to say that to perceive another body as sick is blasphemous. Now, that's a different kind of blasphemy than we learned in this world. This world, if you said, I and the Father are one, and many saints who woke up, or monks, got excommunicated, that was blasphemous. But he's saying true blasphemy is not perceiving your brother as the holy child of the Creator, perceiving them as a body and perceiving them sick. He goes even further to say, if you're doing that, you are actually contributing to their illness. So, the body will heal. For me, 8 medications went in the trash can, and a perfect health report came out of it.
Excellent. And the final comment is, I want the T-shirt with free hugs on the front.
You got it. You got it. But it's really important that you don't make the purpose healing the body. The purpose is healing the belief that you're separate and restoring this relationship. When that is in right relationship, seek first the kingdom and all else will be given to you. But if you're trying to seek this, to have a healthy body, you've said that's more important than God. So just be really careful about seeking healing because you're putting the healing more importantly in relationship with God. The truth of this is when you experience this, you won't care if the body falls over dead the next day because you'll know that's not who you are. It was a very temporary device, and if you don't have it anymore, big deal. That's what will bring peace to you. Even if there is the appearance of illness, it won't be a big deal. That's how Jeshua could be on the cross, knowing it's not affecting the truth about anything and not suffer through it. So healing is a byproduct. Physical healing is a byproduct of the correction of your identity, the reconnection of this relationship. Don't make it the idol. Many people seek healing, and what you're really doing is saying the body's real, it's more important, it needs to be healed, then I'll be happy, then I'll be grateful. So connect first, or you can get in a real cycle around trying to heal. Anyone else?
I want to comment about that part that when you said, and I'll talk about this so I can get it conscious, because I was going to say, what? Say that again. I'll be precise. Like in me doing business today, I had situations where, I was so angry, and I'm scared of showing that, and I ended up getting angry anyway, but in a way I judged as being nasty. And so then I feel guilty, and it's just this whole mess inside me. And so what what Jesus was saying there is, if I let myself fully experience that feeling without judging it, it will move up, and then there won't be any resistance, and then
it'll knock your hat off.
That's what I just did too. Yeah. Oh, hi.
It'll take the lid off, metaphorically.
Yeah. See, I find that so hard to believe.
Of course we do, because it runs absolutely contrary to what we learn. Now, he never said express these things. He didn't say go off on somebody. Mm-hmm. He said allow the energy up and into your being and look upon it with innocence. He didn't say ever here to act on them. Mm. So if you allowed the anger to come up and without resistance, it would probably pass. It's our resistance that causes all these things to persist. Mm. So just because the emotion of anger arises within your being doesn't mean that there's a legitimate cause for it or that you should act upon it. Mm. So anger is one of the things we say is really, really bad. So again, we've said God can arise within my being loving energies, but not energies of resistance or anger or anything else. Now, I can assure you, Jeshua was pissed off when he went and turned the money changer tables over. We got to get rid of this whole idea that holiness means like monk-like, because the greatest good was served by Jeshua allowing the energy of anger to come and turning the money changer tables over. So look within your consciousness at all these concepts you have about what's Christ-like and what's not. Because if Jeshua had been bound by some box of holy ideas, the Spirit never could have moved him in that powerful way to turn the money changer tables over. So the point here is allow it all to come. Again, doesn't mean you have to act on it, but allowing it to come and learn to look on it with innocence instead of the immediate harsh judgment that we've habituated. That's what, I mean, it's like an energy comes and you just have like an auto judgment about it before it even really happens. You don't even give yourself the chance to look on it with innocence because you've already decreed it demonic or bad. So if you let it come, you will learn that it will pass. It's kind of like a baseball. If you throw it through an open window, nothing happens. It just goes right through. If you're open and you're not in resistance, it just goes right through. But if you're in resistance, if you got a screen or a window there and you're saying, I'm the judge of when I put this up and down, that ball's going to come and break that glass. You're going to have all kinds of trouble. So it's about becoming that open window so that anything can pass through your being without resistance. Because really all of us have got a bunch of stuff stuffed down in the basement of our consciousness that needs to come up and out. That's the heaviness we carry around. That's the anxiety we carry around. That's the looking over our shoulder that we carry around. So learning to just let it come and not following the habitual pattern of acting on it immediately, rather witness it with innocence. You'll learn that those things won't have power over you anymore. You'll break the cycle of anger means punch. You'll break the cycle of fear means run. You'll start to consciously interact with those energies, empowered by choice rather than habituated patterns of behavior from the past. Does that help?
That does. Yeah, because that's, you got to, at the very end, that's my confusion, is that if I feel it, I have to express it.
Yeah, no, that's not the case. Now, it can be helpful if you're in an open enough and conscious enough relationship where you can out those feelings, not in an attack on the other, but to go to a partner, and Cindy's done this before, I really need to express this, just to help get it out, not as an attack. And it's really important that the other party doesn't take it personally. You got to be conscious enough to allow them to out the ego. Oftentimes that's part of bringing it to the light. It's no longer within your secret consciousness trying to beat you up, but you can just say to your partner, listen to this crazy thought I just had. Or I got really angry about this. And when you can do it with a partner who will help you look upon it with innocence and maybe laugh about it, that energy will all of a sudden lose its power to control over you. So that can be a very positive relationship if you have one this way, to cultivate this with openness, honesty, and innocence. And anyone's welcome to come do that with me. I will never judge you. because I've seen all that nastiness in my own consciousness, and it's no big deal. Whew. Whew. That was fun.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Jay. Anyone else? How cool that Jeshua gave us this pathway. Woohoo, I'm really grateful about that. Because, we heard a couple of his traditional teachings in there about seek first the kingdom and have no idols, but this puts it in a very different context, doesn't it? It's not a fear-based restrictive context. It's an open, allowing, innocent context. That is friggin' cool. Whew. That looks really good on you. You want to stand up and let that get on camera?
I can if I can keep my eyes from.
So this is the Cyclops clown. That's the third eye, sees nothing but humor. Beautiful. Thank you very much. So when I come to do this work, I come with Jeshua and a whole heavenly host of beings who do nothing but honor and protect our absolute innocence. They're trying like crazy to get us to wake up to what we really are. They're never going to judge us. They're never going to condemn us. They're just going to keep giving us option after option after option after option. Jeshua has channeled 4 pathways in English that are Christ consciousness, not to mention the ones he's done in other cultures. Because they will not stop. Love is relentless. It will not stop until everyone is liberated. So I'm grateful to you, to those beings. We love you with an absolutely infinite, infinite love and a perfect peace. Blessings and good night. Okay, love offering. I forgot all about that. All the internet people don't turn off yet. When all this revelation came, that this was what love would have expressed through me, this one who wakes work, because it's about the one of us. It's not about John Mark. I'm happy to share this seat with any one of you to share your truth. But he said, give as I have given unto you. And he gave it all to me freely. He didn't ever charge me for it. So this is my extension of that same love. I leave it to you to check with your inner guide. Give a guilt-free donation in the basket. Unless you're working on guilt, then give a really big one and go home and work with your guide on your fear around money. Anyway, for those of you watching online, you can go to onewhowakes.org. In the upper right-hand corner is a little give button. You can click on that and leave a donation there. So peace and good night, and I would love hugs on the way out.